I'm standing in my kitchen at 7:43 a.m. on a Tuesday, staring at two boarding passes that just destroyed my marriage. American Airlines, Seattle to Denver, departing in 3 hours. One ticket, Simone Thorne. The other, Dex Holbrook. My wife forgot them on the counter next to her coffee mug. My phone buzzes with her text. It's just a work trip, don't be paranoid. I type back with steady fingers. If you say so. Then I take a photo of the tickets and send it to myself. 5 years of marriage, and she's texting me about paranoia while boarding a plane with another man. A man I've shaken hands with at company parties who calls me buddy and asks about my architecture projects with that practiced corporate smile. I should be furious. Instead, I feel this strange, cold clarity settling over me. The same feeling I get when I'm designing a building and suddenly see the entire structure, every beam, every joint, every potential point of failure. Our marriage has been failing for months. I just couldn't see the blueprint. Simone started at Cordine Marketing 6 months ago. Dex Holbrook transferred from Phoenix around the same time. Suddenly, my wife was mentoring the regional director, coming home glowing about innovative campaigns and strategic partnerships. The late nights started in month 2, strategy sessions that ran past dinner, emergency client calls at midnight. I'd find her whispering into her phone in the bathroom with the door locked. "Just work stuff," she'd say. "Dex is dealing with a crisis in the Denver market." Denver, where they're heading right now. My phone rings, unknown number. "Is this Garrett Thorne?" A woman's voice, professional but strained. "Yes." "This is Marlo Holbrook. I think we need to talk." Dex's wife, a child psychologist, Simone told me. Quiet, intense. "About what?" I ask, though I already know. "About why our spouses are on a plane together while we're home alone." Her voice is controlled. "Can you meet me for coffee?" There's a lot you don't know. An hour later, I'm sitting across from Marlo Holbrook at Grind Coffee, watching her arrange printouts on the table. She's smaller than I remembered, with dark hair and green eyes that catalog every detail. "How long have you known?" she asks. "Officially? About 2 hours." I gesture toward the papers. What am I looking at? Phone records, credit card statements, hotel reservations. She slides a page toward me. They've been planning this for 3 months. Denver was just the latest. The evidence is devastating. Text timestamps showing late-night conversations, restaurant charges in cities where neither had official business, 2 hotel rooms booked consistently, but only one used. She slides another page across. A screenshot of a text conversation. "Dex, can't wait to have you all to myself this weekend. Garrett suspects anything?" Simone, he's clueless, too busy with his blueprints to notice anything. Dex, God, I love how devious you are. Simone, save some energy for Denver. I have plans for you. I read it twice, then set the phone down carefully. That cold clarity is spreading, numbing everything except my ability to think, to plan. "Why are you showing me this?" I ask. Marlo's smile is sharp. "Because I've been collecting evidence for 4 months and I'm ready to move. But I want to do this right, coordinated, maximum impact." "You want revenge? I want justice. There's a difference." She gathers the papers. "They think we're too naive to fight back. They're wrong. What do you need from me?" "Partnership. They made this choice together. We handle it together." She pulls out a business card. "I've already retained a divorce attorney, best in the state. Garrett." She says my name like we're old friends. "They're not just cheating on us. They're stealing from us. Simone has been using your credit cards for their hotel rooms. This isn't just adultery, it's fraud." The weight settles over me. Not just betrayal, but calculation. The lies told to my face while she spent my money on another man. "What do you propose?" Marlo's smile widens. "We let them enjoy their little weekend getaway. Then we show them what happens when you underestimate the people you've been lying to." She stands, leaving the business card. "Think about it. They'll be back Sunday night, and I want everything in place before then." I pick up the card. Harrison and Associates, Family Law. On the back, call me. For the first time since I found those boarding passes, I smile. They think they're on a romantic getaway. What they don't know is they've just given us the perfect opportunity to build their destruction, piece by piece. I finish my coffee and dial the number. Marlowe, it's Garrett. Let's talk. The law office of Harrison and Associates occupies the top floor of a glass tower downtown, all polished marble and understated wealth. At 3 o'clock that same afternoon, I'm sitting next to Marlowe in leather chairs that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage, watching Richard Harrison review our evidence with the methodical precision of a surgeon. "This is comprehensive," he says, setting down the last page. Harrison is maybe 60, silver-haired, with the kind of steady confidence that comes from winning cases other lawyers won't touch. "Mrs. Holbrook, you've been very thorough." "I'm a psychologist," Marlowe replies. "I understand patterns of behavior, and I document everything." Harrison turns to me. "Mr. Thorne, how do you want to proceed? We could file for divorce immediately, seek temporary restraining orders, freeze joint assets." "No." The word comes out harder than I intended. Both of them look at me. "I don't want to react. I want to control this." "Explain." I lean forward, feeling that same clarity from this morning, sharper now. They think they're smarter than us. They think we're passive, predictable. They've been planning this for months while we've been playing house. Now it's our turn to plan. Marlowe nods slowly. "What did you have in mind?" "They're in Denver until Sunday. That gives us 4 days to prepare everything. Legal documents, evidence collection, asset protection. Then we confront them together, publicly, make them understand that their actions have consequences." Harrison raises an eyebrow. "You want to coordinate the confrontation?" "I want to coordinate everything." I turn to Marlowe. "You said you wanted maximum impact. This is how we get it. We catch them in the act, we have witnesses, and we make sure everyone who matters knows exactly what kind of people they are." "They're employers," Marlowe says, understanding immediately. "Friends, family, the whole social circle they've been lying to." "Exactly. They want to destroy our marriages. Fine. We destroy their reputations." Harrison is quiet for a moment, tapping his pen against a legal pad. "It's aggressive. Are you both prepared for the consequences? Once you go down this path, there's no walking it back." I think about Simone's text this morning. "Don't be paranoid." About 5 years of marriage that apparently meant nothing to her. About the money she's spent on hotel rooms with another man while I've been working overtime to pay for the house she's already abandoned in her mind. "I'm sure." "Marlowe?" "I've been sure for months." Her voice is calm, but I can hear the steel underneath. "I just needed the right partner." Harrison nods. "Then let's discuss strategy. For the next 2 hours, we build a plan that's both legal revenge and corporate warfare. Harrison will prepare divorce papers for both of us, along with motions to freeze all joint assets and credit cards. He'll also draft cease and desist letters regarding the fraudulent use of company expense accounts, something that could get both Simone and Dex fired. The key, Harrison explains, is timing. We file everything simultaneously on Monday morning, before they have a chance to coordinate their stories or hide assets. "What about the confrontation?" I ask. Marlowe speaks up. "I've been thinking about that. They're staying at the Ritz-Carlton in Denver, same hotel, same floor. They think they're untouchable there." "You want to surprise them in Denver?" "I want to document them in Denver." She pulls out her phone. "I've already booked us flights for Sunday morning. We arrive before their checkout time, we get everything on video, and we make sure they understand that their little secret is blown." The audacity of it takes my breath away. "You want to fly to Denver just to catch them?" "I want to catch them in a way that leaves no room for denial, no space for lies or manipulation." She shows me the flight confirmation. Plus, Harrison's firm has a relationship with a private investigator in Denver. He can meet us there, provide professional documentation. Harrison nods. "Reed Stone, former police detective, now specializes in infidelity cases. If you're serious about this approach, he's the best." I stare at the airline confirmation on Marlowe's phone. This morning, I was a betrayed husband. Now I'm planning a coordinated strike across multiple states with a woman I barely know and a lawyer who bills more per hour than I make in a day. "The costs," I start, "are worth it," Marlowe interrupts. Dex has been stealing from both of us for months. Company expense accounts, joint credit cards, even some money from our children's college funds. This isn't just about adultery anymore. It's about fraud, theft, and breach of fiduciary duty. Children's college funds? Her composure cracks slightly. 2 kids, ages 12 and 14. They think Daddy has been working late to provide for their future. Instead, he's been funding hotel rooms with your wife. The calculation behind it all hits me again. Not just the betrayal, but the systematic theft. The lies told to children. The money stolen from their futures to pay for a fare. Book the flights, I say. Already done. Marlowe's smile returns. Garrett, there's something else. The private investigator, Reed Stone, he's been watching them since yesterday. We'll have a complete timeline of their activities by the time we arrive. You've been planning this. I've been preparing for this. There's a difference. She gathers her papers. They made a choice to deceive us. We're making a choice to respond appropriately. Harrison stands, signaling the end of our meeting. I'll have preliminary paperwork ready by Friday. Both of you should spend the next few days securing personal assets, changing passwords, and preparing for retaliation. Once we move, they'll likely try to preemptively strike back. As we walk toward the elevators, I realize I'm committed to something that would have been unthinkable this morning. I'm not just getting divorced, I'm going to war. Marlowe, I say as we wait for the elevator. Why me? You could have handled this alone. She considers the question seriously. Because they did this together, and I want them to face the consequences together. Besides, you deserve to see who your wife really is when she thinks no one is watching. The elevator doors open, and we step inside. In the mirrored walls, I see 2 people who look calm, professional, completely in control. I don't recognize the man staring back at me, but I like him better than the one who was fixing breakfast for an unfaithful wife this morning. One more thing, Marlowe says as we reach the lobby. After Denver, after the confrontation, what then? Then we make sure everyone knows exactly what they chose and what it cost them. Their jobs, everything. I push through the lobby doors into the afternoon sunlight. They wanted to blow up our marriages? Fine. We'll show them what a real explosion looks like. Marlowe laughs, and for the first time since I've met her, it sounds genuinely happy. You know what, Garrett? I think we're going to work very well together. As I drive home to the house where my wife pretended to love me while planning her escape, I'm already thinking about Sunday morning, about the look on their faces when they realize their secret weekend has become their public reckoning. They want to play games with people's lives? Time to show them what happens when those people decide to play back. Sunday morning, 9:47 a.m. I'm standing in the Denver Ritz-Carlton lobby with Marlowe, watching Reed Stone review footage on his camera. The private investigator is exactly what you'd expect. Mid-50s, forgettable face, invisible man. Got everything you need, he says quietly. Dinner Friday night, Saturday shopping. She bought him a Rolex, $5,000, your credit card, couples massage. Last night they never left the room. He shows us a photo of Simone and Dex entering the elevator, her hand on his chest, both laughing. She's wearing the dress I bought her for our anniversary. Room 1247, 12th floor, late breakfast ordered, should still be up there. Reed positions himself with his camera while Marlowe and I stand at the door. I can hear voices inside, laughter, silverware clinking. They're having breakfast in bed. I knock. 3 firm raps. Voices stop. Footsteps approach. Room service? Simone's voice confused. Hotel management, I say, deepening my voice. We need to speak with you about checkout. The lock clicks. The door opens. Simone appears in a white hotel robe, hair messed from sleep. For a split second, confusion. Then recognition hits. Her face cycles through shock, panic, then calculation as her mind races for explanations. Garrett? How did you? Surprise, I say quietly and push the door open. The room screams intimacy. Empty champagne bottle. Her clothes scattered next to his. Room service trays. And there, Emerging from the bathroom in just a towel is Dex Holbrook. "What the hell?" he starts, then sees Marlo. His face goes pale. "Marlo? How did you find you?" she asks calmly, pulling out her phone to record. Careful planning and attention to detail. Reed slips in behind us, camera ready. Simone backs toward the bed, clutching her robe. "This isn't what it looks like," she says automatically. I laugh harshly. "Really? Because it looks like my wife having a romantic weekend with her boss while I'm home paying for it." "Garrett, let me explain." "Explain what? The plane tickets? The hotel bills on our credit card? 3 months of lies about work trips?" Dex steps forward. "Look, man, this is between adults. We don't need to make a scene." Marlo turns the camera toward him. "Adults? Is that what you call stealing from your children's college fund? $23,000 from their education accounts?" His face crumbles. "You went through our finances?" "I went through everything. Bank records, credit cards, phone bills." Her voice is professional steel. "Did you really think I wouldn't notice?" Simone is crying now, angry tears. "You had no right to follow us here." "Private?" I pull out my phone, show her the ticket photo. "You mean like texting me about paranoia while boarding a plane with another man? I never meant for you to find out like this." "You never meant for me to find out at all." I look around the room. "How long, Simone? Don't lie anymore." She looks at Dex, calculating how much we know. 6 months, she whispers. "Try again," Marlo says. "We have text messages going back 9 months. Dex sinks onto the bed. "Jesus Christ, Marlo. You've been investigating me for 9 months?" "I've been protecting myself for 9 months. She turns to Simone. "Tell him about Phoenix." "About Valentine's weekend while he thought you were visiting family." "That's enough," Simone snaps. "Yes, we've been seeing each other, but you can't just barge in here like some detective squad." "Actually, we can," Reed speaks up, showing credentials. "Private investigator hired by Mrs. Holbrook, completely legal." "You hired a detective?" Dex stares at his wife. "I hired an attorney, a detective, and a forensic accountant," Marlo replies. "Tomorrow I'm filing for divorce, seeking full custody, and pressing charges for theft and fraud." "Fraud?" "The expense reports you've been filing. Hotel rooms and restaurants charged to company accounts for personal use. $15,000 in fraudulent charges. Silence, except for air conditioning. I watch color drain from both their faces." "And you?" Dex turns to me. I look at my wife on a bed where she's been betraying our marriage, wearing a robe paid for with my money. "Divorce," I say simply. "Asset forfeiture, and copies of everything to both your employers." "You can't do that," Simone protests. "That would ruin our careers." "You should have thought of that before stealing from us to fund your affair." As we turn to leave, Simone calls out, "Garrett, wait. We can work something out." I pause at the door and look back. She's sitting on the bed where she's been cheating, surrounded by luxury bought with my money. "We could have worked something out 9 months ago," I say, "before you decided I wasn't worth your honesty. Now the only thing left to work out is how much this is going to cost you." As the door closes, I hear Simone starting to cry. Real tears this time, the kind that come when you realize you've lost something you can't get back. In the elevator, Reed reviews his footage. "Good material, clear video, admissions on tape. Should hold up well in court." "How do you feel?" Marlo asks. I consider the question. An hour ago, I still had some small hope this was all a misunderstanding. Now I know exactly who my wife is. "Free," I say finally. For the first time in months, completely free. They thought they were so clever. But they forgot something. When you build happiness on someone else's pain, eventually the foundation crumbles. And tomorrow, we're going to help it along. Monday morning, 8:15 a.m. I'm sitting in Harrison's office watching him organize 3 separate sets of legal documents while Marlo and I prepare for what he calls coordinated legal warfare. The papers are spread across his conference table like battle plans, divorce filings, restraining orders, asset freeze motions, and something else I hadn't expected. "Criminal fraud charges?" I ask. reading the header on the thick packet Harrison just handed me. Colorado DA's office is very interested in your case, Harrison explains. Cross-state fraud involving corporate accounts triggers federal jurisdiction. The amounts involved, over $38,000 between both expense accounts and joint assets, qualifies as felony theft. Marlo looks up from her own paperwork. 38,000? That's just what we can document. Reed Stone's forensic analysis found additional charges going back 13 months. Restaurant bills, hotel rooms, even shopping trips charged to business accounts or joint credit cards. Harrison slides another page toward me. Your wife purchased a $5,000 watch for Mr. Holbrook using your shared credit line. I stare at the receipt. Rolex Submariner, purchased at a Denver boutique yesterday morning while I was flying to confront them. She bought her lover an expensive watch with my money while I was planning to destroy her life. When do we file? Marlo asks. Already filed. As of 20 minutes ago, both divorce petitions are in the system, along with temporary restraining orders and asset freeze motions. Harrison checks his phone. The Portland PD should be serving papers to both of them within the hour. At work? At work. His smile is predatory. Public service has its advantages. Hard to deny you've been served when it happens in front of your colleagues. My phone buzzes. Text from an unknown number. You need to call me right now. This is insane. Minus Simona. I show it to Harrison. She's already trying to establish contact. Don't respond. Everything goes through me now. He makes a note on his legal pad. In fact, I recommend blocking her number entirely. Any communication she wants to make can go through her attorney. She hasn't hired one yet? Not as of this morning, which puts her at a significant disadvantage. Harrison gathers the remaining papers. Garrett, there's something else. Reed's investigation uncovered some interesting details about Mr. Holbrook's employment situation. What kind of details? He's been submitting false expense reports for over a year. The company has strict policies about personal use of corporate accounts. When they find out, and they will find out, he's facing immediate termination and possible criminal charges. Marlo looks up sharply. You're going to tell Cordine? I'm going to provide them with documentation when they ask, which they will once the divorce proceedings become public. Harrison's expression is neutral, professional. Companies don't like to be associated with employee fraud, especially in management positions. My phone buzzes again. This time it's a call from Simone. I decline it and immediately get a text. Garrett, please. We can work this out. Don't destroy my career over a mistake. A mistake? I show the message to Marlo. 9 months of lying, stealing, and cheating is a mistake? Block the number, she says. She's going to try every manipulation tactic she knows. Don't give her the opportunity. I delete Simone's contact and block the number. It feels surprisingly liberating. What about Dex? I ask Marlo. Is he trying to contact you? He showed up at the house last night. Her voice is calm, but I can see anger in her eyes. Banging on the door at 11 p.m. demanding I call off the lawyers. I told him he had 10 seconds to leave before I called the police. Did he leave? Eventually, but not before telling the kids their mother was trying to ruin their family. She takes a breath. That's when I knew I was doing the right thing. Any man who would use his children as weapons doesn't deserve them. Harrison closes his briefcase. Both of you should prepare for escalation. They're going to fight back, probably with false accusations and character assassination. Document everything, trust no one, and remember that they're no longer the people you married. They're adversaries in a legal proceeding. As we leave the office, I realize that 24 hours ago, I was still hoping for explanations, maybe even reconciliation. Now I'm planning the complete destruction of two people who chose to build their happiness on my pain. My phone rings as we reach the parking garage. Unknown number again, but I recognize the voice. Garrett? It's Kira. Simone's mother, the woman who spent 5 years telling me I wasn't good enough for her daughter. What the hell is wrong with you? Hello, Kira. Simone is at work crying, saying you've filed divorce papers and frozen all her accounts. She can't even buy lunch. She should have thought of that before she spent my money on hotel rooms with another man. That's no reason to humiliate her publicly. Having papers served at work? That's cruel and vindictive. I almost laugh. Kira, your daughter has been stealing from me for 9 months to fund an affair. The only thing cruel and vindictive here is what she's been doing to our marriage. Everyone makes mistakes. This wasn't a mistake. This was a deliberate choice, repeated over and over again. I reach my car, Marlo waiting beside hers a few spaces away. If Simone wants to communicate, she can hire a lawyer. Otherwise, lose my number. I hang up and immediately add Kira to my blocked list. Family pressure? Marlo asks. It's starting. You? Dex's brother called this morning. Apparently, I'm a vindictive bitch who's destroying a good man over normal marital problems. She unlocks her car. Amazing how quickly the narrative shifts to make us the villains. Let them try. We have documentation. We have more than that. She shows me her phone. Reed sent me the final report. Want to know what your wife and my husband were doing while we were confronting them yesterday? I brace myself. What? Planning their next trip. Text messages sent yesterday afternoon after we left. They're talking about going to Cabo next month, maybe making it permanent. The audacity takes my breath away. Even after being caught, even knowing we had evidence and lawyers, they were planning their next move together. They really thought we'd just accept it. They thought we were weak. Marlo starts her car. They're about to learn the difference between weak and unprepared. That afternoon, I'm home changing the locks on my house when my neighbor Ted walks over, looking uncomfortable. Hey, Garrett. Simone stopped by around noon. She seemed pretty upset about not being able to get in. I pause in my work on the deadbolt. What did you tell her? That it wasn't my business. Ted shifts his weight. But she asked me to give you a message. Said she needs to get some personal items and wants to know when you'll be home. She can coordinate through her attorney? She doesn't have one yet. At least that's what she said. Ted glances back toward his house where his wife is probably watching from the window. Look, I don't know what's going on between you two, but she seemed genuinely desperate. Desperate. That's exactly what Harrison said would happen. First comes denial, then anger, then desperation, as they realize the full scope of the consequences. Thanks for the message, Ted. But she needs to go through legal channels now. An hour later, I'm testing the new locks when a car pulls into my driveway. Not Simone's Lexus. A beat-up Honda I don't recognize. The driver's door opens and Dex Holbrook gets out, looking like he hasn't slept. I step onto the porch, keeping my distance. You're trespassing. I need to talk to you. His voice is hoarse. Man to man. The restraining order says otherwise. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. He takes a step closer, and I can see the desperation Ted was talking about. Garrett, this whole thing has gotten out of hand. It got out of hand 9 months ago when you decided to sleep with my wife. Look, I know you're angry. I'm not angry anymore. The truth of it surprises me. I was angry Sunday morning when I found those plane tickets. Now I'm just done. Dex runs his hands through his hair. Marlo's trying to destroy me. She's already called my boss, sent documentation to HR. They're launching an internal investigation. Good. Garrett, please, I've got kids, a mortgage. If I lose my job... You should have thought of that before you stole from your employer to pay for hotel rooms. It wasn't stealing, those were legitimate business expenses. For personal trips with my wife? I laugh, and it comes out colder than I intended. Dex, I've seen the receipts. Couples' massages aren't legitimate business expenses. He starts to argue, then seems to deflate. What do you want? Money? I can pay back what I spent. I want you to stay away from me, stay away from my house, and deal with the consequences of your choices. I pull out my phone. You've got 30 seconds to get off my property before I call the police. This isn't over, he says as he backs toward his car. Yes, it is. After he leaves, I call Harrison to report the contact violation. He takes notes and promises to file a motion for enhanced restraining orders in the morning. They're panicking, he explains. Good. Panic leads to mistakes, and mistakes help our case. That evening, I'm reviewing architectural plans for a new project when my doorbell rings. Through the window, I can see a woman I don't recognize, mid-40s, professional attire, holding a briefcase. "Mr. Thorne, I'm Janet Walsh, attorney for Simone Thorne. I was hoping we could discuss a resolution." I don't open the door. Any communication goes through my attorney, Richard Harrison at Harrison & Associates. "Mr. Thorne, my client is willing to be very reasonable about the division of assets if we can reach an amicable agreement." "Your client committed fraud. There's nothing amicable about this. She made some poor choices, yes, but surely we can find a middle ground that doesn't destroy her career and reputation." Through the glass, I can see she's holding what looks like a settlement offer, the same kind of last-minute deal Harrison warned me about. "Ms. Walsh, your client had 9 months to think about the consequences of her actions. Now she gets to live with them." I close the curtains and call Harrison, who promises to contact Walsh in the morning to establish proper communication protocols. Tuesday brings a new escalation. I arrive at work to find my business partner, Jake Morrison, waiting in my office with a grim expression. "We need to talk," he says, closing the door behind him. "I got a call this morning from someone claiming to be a journalist, asking about your personal life, your marriage, whether it affects your work." My stomach drops. "What kind of journalist?" Said he was freelance working on a story about professional men who abuse the legal system to get revenge on their wives. Jake sits across from my desk. "Garrett, what the hell is going on?" I spend 20 minutes explaining the situation, while Jake's expression shifts from concern to anger. "So she's trying to spin this as you being vindictive?" "Looks like it." "What did you tell this journalist?" "Nothing. Referred him to you." Jake leans back in his chair. "But Garrett, if this becomes a public thing, it could affect the firm. We've got 3 major projects in the pipeline, and clients don't like controversy. The implication hangs in the air. My personal life could cost me my career, just like Dex's choices cost him his." "I understand." "Handle it," Jake says, standing. "Whatever it takes, handle it quickly and quietly." After he leaves, I call Harrison. "Media pressure," he says when I explain the situation. "Classic desperation move. She can't win in court, so she's trying to win in the court of public opinion." "Can she do that?" "She can try. But we have documentation, and journalists like facts. If she wants to go public, we'll make sure the public gets the whole story." "Including the fraud?" "Including everything." That afternoon, Marlo calls with an update. "Dex got fired," she says without preamble. "Effective immediately. They found enough evidence of expense account abuse to justify termination for cause." "How's he handling it?" "Badly. He's been calling everyone we know, trying to get them to convince me to drop the divorce. He told my sister I'm having a breakdown, that I'm not thinking clearly. And my sister asked to see the evidence. After I showed her the photos from Denver and the financial records, she suggested I should have divorced him months ago. It's funny how truth has a way of cutting through manipulation. The people who matter, the ones who actually care about us, they can see the difference between justice and revenge. Marlo, there's something else. They're trying to plant stories in the media, paint us as vindictive ex-spouses abusing the legal system. I know. A reporter called me yesterday. I referred him to Harrison. And Harrison's drafting a press release. If they want to make this public, we'll give the public the full story. Bank records, hotel receipts, timeline of the affair, documentation of the theft. Her voice is calm, confident. Let them try to spin fraud and adultery as a victim story. Wednesday morning brings the news I've been expecting. My phone rings at 6 a.m. with a call from Harrison. "It's done," he says. Simone's attorney filed a counter motion yesterday evening. They're claiming emotional abuse, financial control, and irreconcilable differences. They want 50% of everything, including the house. Can they get it? Not a chance. Not with the evidence we have. Papers rustle in the background. But Garrett, they're also claiming something else. Janet Walsh filed a motion suggesting you've been having an affair with Marlo Holbrook. The audacity is breathtaking. Based on what? Your coordination of legal strategy, the trip to Denver together, the fact that you're working with the same attorney. They're trying to paint your partnership as romantic rather than strategic. That's ridiculous. It's desperate. And desperation in family court usually backfires. Harrison's voice carries a note of satisfaction, especially when we can prove their clients were committing adultery and fraud for 9 months, while you and Mrs. Holbrook were completely unaware of each other's situations. When do we respond? Friday. I want to give them enough rope to hang themselves with. Sometimes the best strategy is letting your opponents reveal how dishonest they're willing to be. By Thursday, the pressure is building from all sides. Simone's family is calling mutual friends, trying to generate sympathy for her position. Dex is apparently telling everyone who will listen that Marlo and I orchestrated an elaborate scheme to frame them. But something interesting is happening. The people who actually know us, who've watched our marriages deteriorate over the past year, aren't buying the victim narrative. They're asking questions, requesting evidence, and discovering the truth. Thursday evening, I get a call from Marcus Chen, a college friend who's stayed close to both Simone and me over the years. Garrett, I need to ask you something directly. Did you and Simone have problems before this affair? Yes. How long? I think about it honestly. Looking back, probably a year. She became distant, secretive, spent more money, worked later hours. I thought it was job stress. And you never suspected? Marcus, when someone you love and trust tells you they're working late, you believe them. When they say a business trip is a business trip, you don't demand to see plane tickets. I pause. Maybe I should have, but I trusted my wife. There's a long silence. I believe you, he says finally. And for what it's worth, Simone's version of events keeps changing. First she said it was a one-time mistake, then a brief fling. Now she's claiming you drove her to it with emotional neglect. What do you think? I think people who cheat always find ways to blame their victims. Marcus sighs. I'm sorry, man. You deserved better. Friday morning arrives with Harrison's call that changes everything. They want to settle, he says. Janet Walsh called this morning with a comprehensive offer. What kind of offer? Simone keeps her personal property and her car. You keep the house and your business assets. No alimony, no division of retirement accounts. She pays her own legal fees and agrees to a public apology. It's a complete capitulation. Everything we wanted and more. Why now? Because Cordine's internal investigation concluded yesterday. They're pressing criminal charges against both Simone and Dex for expense account fraud. She's facing potential jail time, not just divorce. The scope of it hits me. This started as infidelity and became theft, fraud, and potential federal charges. The personal betrayal has become a criminal matter. What do you recommend? Take the deal. It gives you everything you want and ensures she faces the legal consequences of her actions. Plus, the public apology puts the truth on record. And Marlo? She's already agreed. Dex's situation is similar. Criminal charges pending, complete asset forfeiture, and he pays all legal costs. An hour later, I'm sitting in Harrison's office reading the settlement agreement while Marlo reviews her own paperwork. The terms are stark, comprehensive, and completely in our favor. Public apology? I ask, reading the clause about Simone acknowledging her adultery and fraud in a written statement. Standard practice in fraud cases, Harrison explains. It prevents her from continuing to spread false narratives about your character. And the criminal charges? Proceed independently. The settlement resolves the civil matters, but she still faces potential prosecution for theft and fraud. Marlo looks up from her papers. How do you feel about it? Relieved, I say honestly. This gives us everything we wanted without a prolonged court battle. And them? I think about Simone and Dex, who started this believing they could have their affair and their marriages too. Who thought they were smarter than us, more sophisticated, better at managing the complexities of deception. They get exactly what they chose, I say. Each other, and the consequences that come with that choice. The Multnomah County Courthouse on Monday morning looks like a corporate merger rather than the dissolution of two marriages. Harrison has arranged for both proceedings to be heard simultaneously, given the interconnected fraud evidence. I'm sitting with Marlo in the front row, watching Simone and her attorney Janet Walsh arrange papers. Dex isn't here. His criminal hearing is later this week, and his attorney advised avoiding public proceedings. Simone looks different than in Denver. Professional attire, conservative makeup, playing the role of wronged wife forced into an unreasonable situation. It might have worked if we didn't have 9 months of documented evidence. All rise, the bailiff calls. The Honorable Judge Patricia Weston presiding. Judge Weston is exactly what you'd want. Mid-50s, no nonsense, with steady presence that suggests she's seen every variation of human deception. We're here for the consolidated hearing in Thorne versus Thorne and Holbrook versus Holbrook, she says. Mr. Harrison, explain why these cases should be heard together. Harrison rises. Your Honor, both cases involve the same pattern of fraud, same timeline of deception, and overlapping evidence of criminal activity. The defendants conducted their affair using funds stolen from their respective spouses and employers. Mrs. Walsh, any objection? Janet Walsh stands nervously. Your Honor, my client objects to the characterization of her actions as theft or fraud. These were marital assets used during emotional distress. Mrs. Walsh, Judge Weston interrupts, I've reviewed the evidence. Are you claiming hotel rooms shared with Mr. Holbrook constitute legitimate use of marital assets? Your Honor, the circumstances leading to my client's relationship were complex. That's not what I asked. Did your client use marital credit cards to pay for hotel rooms where she conducted an extramarital affair? Walsh glances at Simone, who nods. Yes, Your Honor, but… Mr. Harrison, present your evidence. For 40 minutes, Harrison methodically destroys any possibility this was simple marital discord. Bank records, hotel receipts with timestamps corresponding to text messages, corporate credit card statements proving false expense reports. The moment that changes everything comes when Harrison plays the audio from Denver. Simone's voice fills the courtroom. 6 months? Try again. We have text messages going back 9 months. Judge Weston stops the recording. Mrs. Walsh, your client just admitted this affair lasted 9 months, not the brief period of poor judgment in your filing. Your Honor, the recording was made without consent. In a hotel room, your client was sharing with someone else's husband, using fraudulently obtained funds. Judge Weston's tone is ice cold. Mr. Harrison, continue. The next exhibit is the photograph of Simone purchasing the Rolex. $5,000 on our joint credit card, while supposedly on a business trip. Your Honor, Harrison says, this purchase was made 18 hours before Mr. Thorne and Mrs. Holbrook confronted them. Even knowing they were being investigated, Mrs. Thorne continued stealing marital assets for her lover. I watch Simone's careful composure crack as she realizes how thoroughly we've documented her betrayal. Walsh tries a different approach. Your Honor, my client acknowledges mistakes were made, but Mr. Thorne's response has been disproportionate and vindictive. Mrs. Walsh, Judge Weston interrupts, are you familiar with the criminal charges your client is facing? Your Honor? The DA has filed charges of theft in the first degree, aggravated identity theft, and wire fraud. The federal prosecutor is considering additional charges for the interstate nature of the fraud. Judge Weston reviews a document. Your client is facing potential prison time. Mr. Thorne's divorce filing is the least of her concerns. The courtroom goes silent. Simone whispers urgently to Walsh, who looks like she's just realized she's defending a lost case. Mr. Harrison, what is your client seeking? Complete dissolution, all marital assets to remain with Mr. Thorne given fraudulent depletion, and restitution for documented theft. We're also seeking public acknowledgement of Mrs. Thorne's adultery and fraud to prevent further defamation. Mrs. Walsh response? Walsh stands slowly. Your Honor, my client would like to request a brief recess to consider settlement terms. Granted, 15 minutes. I watch Simone and Walsh huddle in urgent conversation. Simone keeps shaking her head, but Walsh seems to be explaining something that makes Simone's face go progressively paler. Marlowe leans over. She just realized she can't win. When court reconvenes, Walsh looks defeated. Your Honor, my client accepts the settlement terms as proposed. Judge Weston reviews the agreement. Mrs. Thorne, do you understand that by accepting this settlement, you're acknowledging you committed adultery and used marital assets to fund that affair? Simone's voice is barely audible. Yes, Your Honor. And this acknowledgement will be part of the public record? Yes, Your Honor. And you're agreeing to pay restitution for fraudulent use of marital assets in the amount of $23,000? Yes, Your Honor. Judge Weston signs the divorce decree. Mr. Thorne, you're awarded the marital home, all associated property, and all retirement accounts. Mrs. Thorne, you're entitled to your personal property and vehicle. The marriage is dissolved effective immediately. Marlowe's case proceeds almost identically. Dex's attorney appears by phone from county jail. He was arrested Friday for corporate fraud and hasn't made bail. The entire proceeding takes less than 3 hours. 3 hours to dissolve 2 marriages that took years to build, but the evidence was so overwhelming there was no room for argument. As we gather papers, Simone approaches me one last time. "Garrett," she says quietly, "I know you won't believe this, but I never meant for it to go this far." I look at her. This woman I shared a bed with for 5 years, who I trusted completely, who chose to betray that trust for 9 months while stealing my money. "Simone, you bought him a Rolex with my credit card while I was flying to Denver to confront you. You absolutely meant for it to go this far." She starts to respond, then realizes there's nothing left to say. No explanation can undo 9 months of calculated deception. As she walks away, Harrison puts a hand on my shoulder. "How does it feel?" I watch my ex-wife disappear through courthouse doors, probably heading to meet her criminal attorney about plea bargains and potential prison sentences. "Like justice," I say. "It feels exactly like justice." Outside the courthouse, Marlowe and I stand in afternoon sunlight, legally free from the people who chose to betray us. "What now?" she asks. "Now we rebuild," I say. "We take the lives they tried to destroy and make them better than they ever were." She smiles, and for the first time since I've known her, it reaches her eyes. I like that plan. As we walk toward our cars, I realize Simone was right about one thing. She never meant for it to go this far. She meant to have her affair and keep her marriage, to steal my money and trust, while I remained obliviously faithful. What she didn't count on was that some people, when betrayed, don't just accept it. They fight back. They document everything. They coordinate their response. They use the legal system exactly as designed. She wanted to have her cake and eat it too. Instead, she ended up with nothing but consequences. And those consequences are exactly what she deserved.